Explain why it is so very important to get the conclusion right. Please join me in welcoming Tim Wilson.
So far, we've focused on two things. We focused on the audience. We focused on speaker. And that's pretty much all we've talked about. We talked about the evaluation of speech, the audience and the speaker. Now, in focusing on these two important areas, we've left out one other important person, one other important area that really needs to be in there somewhere. And now that we're at the conclusion of the evaluation speech, we'd better put them in there or they aren't going to go in at all. There's something left out. There's something missing. Because even if you've got a great evaluation, you talk about it, you've got all these points, you're listing everything, what they're talking about, when you get to the end, anybody else could do that. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing special that's unique about it. There's nothing really that people could take away. I mean, they could do all this stuff in themselves. There's nothing really they get out of it aside from just some thoughts and ideas they could read in books anyway. What's missing is you, the evaluator. You've got to put your own opinions, your own thoughts, your own ideas, your own insights into your evaluation, and that goes at the conclusion of the speech. Now, where do you get these ideas? Where do you get these insights? Where do you get this understanding of the speech? Well, fortunately, someone's just given a speech for you, and presumably had some sort of idea what they were talking about. So you can always borrow off of those ideas, those insights, and just say how that impacted you, how you agree with it or disagree with it, how you really got in touch with it. How did the speech move you? That's what goes into the conclusion. How did the speech personally move you? How do you personally connect with the speech? That's not something that goes in the beginning or goes in the middle, and some people put it in there, but that's really the part of you really do the evaluation part. But at the end, you want to get that personal thing, that thing the audience is going to take with them and move on with them and leave with them and think about, hopefully, after your evaluation. The thing you bring to the evaluation speech that nobody else can is you. So you've got to put you into the speech. Now, how much time you have to do that will vary. It'll vary depending upon how you've been doing your speech. If you've been spending your speech and doing for the introduction, say, a lot of time in introduction and a lot of time on building up and developing that evaluation part of the speech, then you've got much less time to do the conclusion. But if you've been giving a kind of a short introduction and a short part of the evaluation speech, then when you get to the end, you've got a much longer time to do the conclusion. So that part of the evaluation speech, that's the conclusion, is that chance to give your own personal ideas, your own personal insights. But you really don't have that much time, actually. If you've got a short time, you've got maybe 40 seconds. 40, 45 seconds. If you've got very short introduction, very short body, maybe 45 seconds. Because the whole evaluation itself takes 3.5 minutes. That's all you have to do the evaluation. Or, if you spend a lot of time on the first two parts, introduction and the body, then you've got 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. Really put in your thoughts, your ideas about that speech, your personal sense of that speech that people are going to take with them to inspire them and uplift them. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, Tim, you really like to talk about those evaluations, don't you? And the rest of you are thinking, how in the world do I take all of this ideas and thoughts that I have in my head and cram them down into 20 seconds or 25 seconds or 15 seconds? How do you do that? Because it's a challenge. There's all these great ideas you have in your speech to have from hearing the speech that you want to get across. You've got a very short amount of time to do it. How do you take all this stuff and really cram it down? But what you need is you need a technique. You need a method. You need a way to practice every day that you can easily take a lot of information and put it down into a small area. And for all of you who are looking at me glazed, who've never done an evaluation before in your life, or new to Toastmasters, you can even use this exercise for yourself in anything you want to take a big idea and squeeze it in a very small space. Like if somebody asks your opinion about something you really feel passionate about, but you know you don't have much time to say. Here's what you do. Pick something you really strongly, passionately feel strongly about. Whatever it is. And rehearse at home, talk about it to yourself for 3 minutes. Just give yourself a 3-minute speech. Anything you want. And that's that day. You're done. Next day, take the same subject you're passionate, you're excited about, only talk about it for 2 minutes. Done for that day. Next day, same thing, talk about the subject you're passionate, excited about for 1 minute. Next day, 30 seconds. Next day, 15 seconds. Next day, 8 seconds. You'll discover that you can take a huge amount of information and squeeze it into a very small area. You'll also discover that most of the time you're talking way too much about something to be said in a much, much shorter amount of time. That's the conclusion evaluation speech. And a handy technique you can use to squeeze a lot of information into a very short amount of time. Remember, the evaluation speech is at the conclusion. You want to give your own personal thoughts, your own personal ideas, your own personal insights. Next week, we're reviewing some of the things we talked about and mentioning some things you absolutely have to have if you're going to give the best evaluation that you can. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Eddie. Eddie is doing a speech from a successful club series.